Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
We have a special guest today on our GPAC channel. We have fashion model Christine Handy, and we welcome Terry Diaz from GPAC, and I'm Robin Tout from GPAC. So we're just going to talk organically off the cuff and just kind of see where it goes. But Christine, I've been following you for a little while now, and I think you have some exciting news for us, and we are super excited to share it with basically the world, because I think it really affects everybody, and it's such a great story. And I'm going to let you just kind of share where you've been.
Well, I'll start from way back. I started modeling when I was 11 years old, and I continued that path even after my breast cancer journey, which was long and arduous. And I actually started modeling after my breast cancer journey with a concave chest and intentionally trying to inspire and help other women to use that platform. I've actually tried to use all of my platforms to do exactly that, whether it's writing, whether it's speaking, and modeling as an influencer. You can all use them all to, impact people. And so my message has always been clear that our self-esteem, it starts from the inside. It has nothing to do with society's value of you or exclusivity in any way in society, and what the old paradigm rules were. They are not applicable anymore today at all. And there are people that are making vast changes in the beauty space. One of the titles that people call me is the beauty disruptor and the breast cancer disruptor, because I am making strides in trying to change old cultural rules. And one brand that has said yes to my crusade is Victoria's Secrets. And it's a very bold move on their part. And I woke up literally a year ago and I said to myself and then my manager, we really need to get to Victoria's Secrets. They're changing, they're shifting from this old paradigm of objectifying women to inclusivity. And I think breast cancer survivors should be a part of that. And so it took us several months to get somebody there that would take a call. And then they sent a representative from their organization to watch me walk in New York Fashion Week last February. And then I think they thought, well, she's legit, she actually is modeling in New York Fashion Week. And so they took a meeting with me in March. And it was a meaningful meeting. I said, I've scoured your socials. I've gone through them all, and you were doing incredible things and representing so many women. But there's a piece of the puzzle that you're missing. And this is the breast cancer community. And we're a mighty community, and we're a sympathetic community. So if you want us to come back to Victoria's Secret, you need to represent us. And so they were very kind, and it took several months of different meetings with different people. And so they finally said yes in July. And it's a campaign they've been very enthusiastic about. They want to see the change, especially in this community. And it was also very bold because they picked me. Well, they picked me, but it was, I have no chest. So they basically picked their first ever breastless model, which I think is going to make a huge impact on the world.
That is
Definitely.
huge.
Yeah.
And I think it's so amazing for you to have continued your modeling career even after breast cancer, because there's just so much that goes along with the breast cancer diagnosis, right? And it kind of turns our life upside down. But for you to just kind of jump back on your feet and just thrust yourself right back into the modeling community, I think that's so commendable. And I think that shows a lot about your character and your self-confidence, which I think is such a great example in the breast cancer community. I think that's why, for me as a breast cancer survivor, like, this story is so huge, because I've worked with so many women over the last 5 years. I was diagnosed in 2017, and there's just so many of that roller coaster of emotions, from diagnosis to treatment and surgeries. And, tell us a little bit about that. Like, what was your breast cancer journey like? Because what I've noticed is so many women have such a different experience. And just kind of share with us a little bit about that.
I was diagnosed at 41 years old, 2012, October 1st, actually, which is kind of ironic because that's the first day of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And I went from like loving pink as a color when I was a little girl to seeing pink everywhere for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And it was not the right time for me to see all those pink ribbons. It was so overwhelming to me. And now I love it. Like, I love everything that all companies do to promote and to give awareness and to, fund research to help eradicate this disease. I love it. But at the time, it was really very traumatic. And subsequently, I went through 28 rounds of chemo, which took about 15 months every week in the chair. And that comes with its own trauma, right? That's not easy. And I went from, having beautiful blonde hair to losing what I thought was my identity in society and having a bald head. And that was traumatic. And so there was always a lot of different stages of trauma, right? That we go through that people don't necessarily understand. And looking back, you can recognize those different stages, right? It's not just the fact that a doctor tells you this is your percentile chance of survival, which is in itself is traumatic, but then you have to lose your external a lot of times with chemotherapy. And then chemotherapy is so strong that I think there's like 20% of women don't make it through chemotherapy because that's what is the catalyst to their death. And so there's so many layers of trauma. And so when you're done with it and people go, oh, well, you're done, you're good. It's just the beginning. Like, it's just the beginning of trying to heal. It's just the beginning of complications for many people, including myself. And so it's a journey. It's a long journey. And I think that's really important to talk about because so often women feel most alone after it's over, when they're trying to heal, when less people are bringing meals over, less people are showing up. It's that time that we need to pour more into people who've been diagnosed with breast cancer.
I agree. I've seen that a lot as well. And unlike you, I didn't have to go through any chemotherapy or treatment or radiation, but it is really hard and it's hard to bounce back. My first cancer, I was 23 years old and had, I think I had 32 rounds of radiation and, I was only 23, but I'm like, why am I so tired? It took me a good year to bounce back from that at such a young age. So it can be a very lonely journey. And I also have not only experienced myself, but also heard other breast cancer survivors talk about just how surprising it is the people that will be there for you and the people that just bail. I mean, my best friend of 19 years, I haven't talked to her in like 5 years. She made a comment to me that just really was hard. She said, hang out with your breast cancer friends right now. And, when you're all done, we can pick up where we left off. And, that was pretty earth shattering and hurtful. So it is very surprising, I think, for a lot of women to have those kind of relationships just fail, or maybe people don't know what to say or how to handle it. So they just kind of slip off, into the distance. But so I think it's really important to bring those conversations to light, and the more awareness, the better. And I think what I love about Terry knows me really well and how I'm like not a fan of technology and social media and all that. But I think it's great because so many of this stuff was kept behind closed doors, but now we have all these social media groups, support groups, and these women are, really supportive of each other. And it is a strong community. You're right about that. Like, it's been so surprising to me how involved the breast cancer ladies are. The flat movement is just going crazy right now. And we're just kind of, I think, normalizing all of these things that, you're not ever done. Right? We always have that fear of recurrence, that those effects from chemo, from treatment, from surgeries. Yes. So tell us about like your surgical experience, because I know I had complications and I had problems, and a lot of women do. And I think that's a large misconception. Yes. The medical community, I think, just brushes over all of that stuff, makes it seem super easy. Yeah. And this is how you go. And then you land in these support groups, and these women are talking about having 22 different surgeries or complications, and their surgeons didn't tell them about that. So tell us what that journey was like for you.
Well, surgery is big business, right? They make a lot of money. And so doing a aesthetic flat closure, that's one surgery. If you do reconstruction, if you do implants, that's multiple surgeries. And here's the problem that I have. I did have implants. And I loved my implants, and I had implants for 7 years. And then I developed a MRSA infection, and that's when they were excavated. So I didn't choose to go flat. Now, I possibly could have chosen, but I was never given the option. No, not any of my plastic surgeons or oncologists or any of the people that were treating me said to me, you have an option of going flat. They said, these are what the implants look like. This is saline. This is more of a rough texture. This is this company and this is that company. And here are the pros and cons of all. That's all I heard. And so when I went concave, I thought, well, gosh, now I look different than everybody, right? Because I didn't know anybody that had it. And that's isolating. And so one of my missions is to get the awareness out that, okay, I am concave. I have no problem being concave. This is who I am. This is what I look like. I'm very proud of what this looks like. I'm not telling people to go do aesthetic closure. I didn't. What I'm telling people is it's an option and you should know it's an option. Doctors should be telling patients that it's an option. And so that's kind of my, drive to do this because and by the way, if implants are what you want, you should have that option too, as long as they're safe. The implants that I had were recalled in 2017 because the FDA took them off the market because they were causing cancer. That's not safe.
Right.
So they're giving us these tools, right, to rebuild our body that are faulty and they're hurting us. That's wrong.
Yeah, that's exactly what we stand for at GPAC too, is informed consent. We don't have an agenda of what you do with your body, as long as
Yes.
you know what is happening to your body. And to be given all the options, that's something that should be automatic. It shouldn't be what the doctor chooses for you. They should lay it out all on the table for you so that you make that decision. So I just, I'm so, honored to have someone like you, helping us with this platform. And the way that social media is changing and our culture is changing, our communities are changing, the breast cancer communities are changing, because flat or being without breasts is becoming more normalized, which is, what it should be.
Yeah, but definitely. And definitely brands like Victoria's Secret's making a huge, bold move, right? Brands that are doing that, that's changing society.
Absolutely. And I think it's important too, because people that have a high profile on social media, like yourself, Christine, I mean, you're truly breaking that glass ceiling and you're just busting in, whether you know it or not, to this medical community, because, in their defense, I think surgeons have been doing it a certain way for so long that they cannot wrap their brain around a woman being okay with not having breasts. When I was diagnosed and I was at a stage in my life where I was super busy keeping up with 2 teenage kids and just doing life, I had no desire to go through multiple surgeries, multiple recoveries. I just wanted to be done as quickly and easily as possible. But you're absolutely right. Surgery is big business. And those surgeons have no problem performing 22 surgeries on a patient. And what is that patient going through? Because for me, I just felt like every surgery, every revision was just dragging the breast cancer process out longer and longer. So, for people to see someone like you who's busy, active, has a beautiful career that's blossoming and be like, I don't have time for this. I don't want to make time for this because I'm totally okay this way. Not only am I okay this way, it feels empowering to see women like yourself putting themselves out there, with a topic that's been taboo pretty much. We don't talk about our private parts, but here we are on social media just blasting it. So I think it will really also help the doctors and the surgeons understand, they were trained a certain way. That needs to be completely overhauled. Their training, what they know, what their expectations are. They need to really get to know their patients and what their patients want. Because for me, I was a very healthy, active, middle-aged woman. I was only 44. So I was still like, I'm exercising all the time, every day. I didn't have time. I didn't want to be slowed down like that, because to me, that is mentally damaging for me to not be able to live the lifestyle that I wanted to live. So I think someone with such a big platform like you have can really make these doctors stop and take notice and be like, wait a minute, all these women can't be crazy. There's something here.
Well, here's the thing about the doctors feeling archaic and abiding by rules that they previously had is not an excuse. We have to change, right? We have to shift under their knives. So why don't they have to shift?
Right.
I'd rather have that job than mine, right?
Yep.
So there's no pity party for them. Give me a break.
Yeah.
Go learn how to do the aesthetic flat closure and show it to your patients.
Exactly.
Give
And I
me a-
really think that is where we're headed, because the group not putting on a shirt, they've done a lot of advocacy in the flat movement. About half of breast cancer patients now are choosing not to reconstruct. So these surgeons, these doctors better get on board, because there's a shift happening, and you either jump on this ship or it's going to sail without you and you're going to sink, because the women are now connecting on social media. They're joining these groups. They're talking about, oh, your results are beautiful. Who is your surgeon? So the women are going to flock to those surgeons. And the surgeons that are resistant to this, and, oh no, we don't, you want breasts. You're not going to be happy without breasts. Those surgeons are just going to be passed over, because women want what they want. And if the doctors aren't listening, they'll sink. So hopefully this is just going to force them to get on board with all of it. And I just commend you and thank you so much for being such a huge part of that. It's great.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely a movement.
Yeah. Now tell us, how were your doctors with your decisions? I know yours kind of came up unexpectedly, so it was kind of a matter of like a life-saving.
Yes.
But how were they, like, did they try to convince you to try a different kind of reconstruction? Tell us how that went for you.
So when I had a MRSA infection in my chest, which it was in March, April, and June of 2020. So the whole world was shut down with COVID, and that was the very front of it. And the infectious disease doctors were busy. So they kind of I was in the hospital a fair amount of time, but they sent me home with a PICC line. They sent me home with antibiotics. They never took the implant out, which is what had to come out ultimately. So by the time that they gutted my chest, the implant was so toxic that it had eaten a hole in my skin, and green pus was just oozing out of my body. And I had 104 fever, and I had emergency surgery. And after that, so there was not a chance of reconstruction on that side, because it was that I lost skin, etc. And so, but they wouldn't allow me to take off the other one. They said, it's an emotional decision. Let's take off the toxic one. Let's take off the illness one, and we will come back to that. I don't even remember the conversation. In fact, when I was in the hospital, because I have 104 fever, I couldn't even lift my head off the pillow. I have this MRSA infection that if it gets to my blood, I'm going to die. So this is like quickly making decisions, and I'm half conscious, right? So I do remember one thing specifically. This nurse came in with papers and she said, sign this. And I looked down and it said mastectomy, left side. And I said, I can't have a mastectomy. I already had a mastectomy. And she said, just sign it. It's for insurance reasons. And it was in those moments where I was so disgusted by the medical community. And I got out of surgery and I felt, the vacancy in that side. And I just couldn't wait to get rid of the other one, because I was afraid of it. I was afraid of the implant. And after about a month, I went into my surgeon's office, and I said, take it off. I mean, people have one and they love it. That's fine. I did not want that. I wanted to be symmetrical. And so he said, well, we really aren't supposed to for 3 months, because that's kind of our protocol. I said, I had a mask on, right? Because it was June of 2020. I said, I want you to look in my eyes. This is emotionally damaging me, and you're contributing to that. Take it off. And so 3 weeks later, I had the surgery.
Wow.
Way to advocate for yourself.
That's huge.
I was so tired. I was so tired, emotionally tired, physically tired. And I just had no patience for them anymore. Now, after they took off both, they gave me a prescription for a prosthetic. I never filled it. I never even looked at it. I didn't want it. And people wear them and they're beautiful and they're awesome, right? And I love that that is there. I just didn't want it for me. And so a couple months later, I went in to see my oncologist, and she said, I really just think you should go meet with this plastic surgeon. There just might be a way to do some revision that maybe doesn't have an implant. Maybe you could use your own tissue. And to placate her, I went, but I didn't even want to go. Mm-hmm. But she just kept on me. And so I went, and the guy, so funny. The guy brought in implants. I said to him when he walked in, I said, no implants, no deal, game over. I'm going home. If you talk about implants, I'm leaving. He brought implants in. He brought really small implants. He goes, you don't have enough tissue. You don't really, we'd have to do skin grafts. but if we use some of your tissue and just a really small implant, it will work. And I was like, did you not hear me? I left. I mean, I literally left. I was like, so my oncologist called me like a week later and she's like, heard the appointment didn't go well. I go, yeah, it didn't go well because he didn't hear a word I said. I don't want any implants. Those things tried to kill me. I don't want them anymore.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, they just don't get it. They just don't get it.
Yeah. I don't know. And listen, we all know the motivation, right? Allergens giving them money. The implant companies are getting kickback. I mean, we know we're not stupid. We're really
Right.
bright women.
And it's a very easy surgery. Very,
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Pop them in, done.
And it's an expensive surgery. So whatever.
Yeah.
Not on my dime. Not on my time.
Right. And not on your life and not on your
Not on
health.
my life. Not on my
And
life.
I think that's what women are starting to realize too. So, you know, and it just makes me really proud for women like us and all the other women out there that are not only advocating for themselves, but they're advocating for other women,
Right.
because there are some women that really are just so devastated. They can't even keep their head out of the water, you know, or they've got little kids at home, whatever their worries may be. So for women that are able to and have the strength, the health, you know, and just the empowerment to do that, I think it's huge. And, you know, I just thank you again so much for this. I can't wait to see how it all just comes about. So I know that this isn't going to air until after everything's done, but so tell us about your journey, where you're going tomorrow and how that's going to be.
Yeah. So I am going to be the first breastless model for Victoria's Secret, which is exciting. And the campaign will include also interviewing me for their website to talk about my personal journey with breast cancer. And it's just including our community, right? And so that's great. And I'm excited about it. It's important for us as a community, for all breast cancer survivors, whether you're flat or have implants or didn't lose your breast, it doesn't matter. And really it's for all women, right? Because inclusivity is more important than exclusivity. And when brands say yes to inclusivity, it changes people's lives. So I'm very excited about the whole campaign, and I'm looking forward to it coming out in late September.
Yay. That's so awesome.
Thank you.
So I think, again, like the medical world is going to change because of things like this. We've had a lot of patients with medical gaslighting. I mean, we have some really big problems with leadership in plastic surgeon societies that are pitching a certain narrative. And it's really interesting because the patient community is finally standing up and saying, no, we're not okay with this. No matter what you say, no matter what your studies show, we know what we want. We know what should be told to us during consultations. And
Right.
It's so great to see that patients are now driving the standard of care. And it's amazing. I can't wait to see what the next 10 to 15 years brings in medicine, because I think a lot of people are going to be knocked off their pedestal because of just the gaslighting that's been going on, the people that are speaking out about this.
Yeah.
So again, thank you and good luck with your journey tomorrow. We can't wait to see the pictures. We can't wait to post this video and probably be like the first ones to be able to post as soon as we're able to. So thank you, Christine, for joining us, and we hope you have a wonderful trip and a wonderful experience.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.